Board meeting to order for Thursday, October 6th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Number 2, roll call starting from my left.
Jumati here.
Minter here.
Asdell here.
Goldman here.
All right here.
Number 3, certified posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Monday, October 3rd, 2022, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, October 6th was posted, or was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 3:13 p.m., posted at Rome Town Hall at 3:15 p.m., at Quick Trip LLC at 3:55 p.m., and Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 4:05 p.m.
Thank you. Number 4, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 6, citizen comments. Any comments received? No action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda. Number 7, information updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Lori, would you like to start?
Sure. I have a couple here, or a few here to share. First of all, I was able to attend the Wisconsin Towns Association fall workshops, and I do have some information to share. If anybody's interested, I can give it to Jamie, and she can make copies for you. The most 2 interesting breakouts were on grants, the ARPA updates and the bill updates. So if you're interested in any of that, I can share it. And then also town road updates, and with weight limits and how to grade and look at roads and that sort of thing. So if anybody's interested in that, I, again, can give those to Jamie and she can make copies for you. The presentations were very good. Adams County's Sheriff Office has their ATV UTV Ride K9 fundraiser this weekend. It's on Saturday. It's starting out from Connell's Cedar Shack. Registration starts at 10 a.m. and they'll leave by 11 a.m. They'll return by 5 p.m. for a meal and raffles, and they'll have 50-50 raffles at all at some of the stops. And that'll help support the canines, which you may recall we had that $200 donation we approved a couple of meetings ago. Then the third one I had was for the American Legion Auxiliary Ryan Larson Unit 65. The wine tasting fundraiser is coming up on Saturday, November 5th, 7 p.m. to 9:45 at the Lake Arrowhead Pines Clubhouse Banquet Room. Tickets are still for sale for $35, which includes the $10 donation. And this year, again, they'll be featuring, actually for the first time, a sommelier from Sand Valley who will be explaining all the different wines you'll be tasting. So you can go buy your tickets and help them support the veterans in the area. Thank you.
Dan?
Nothing.
Just got one thing. Last Friday, several of us on the board here attended a ATV UTV ride at Derek Hughes, and I had never been out there before. The place is pretty impressive, and see a lot of opportunities out there. But if you've never been there, I suggest you go out there and take a ride with somebody and look around. It's very impressive. So.
Largest ATV, UTV, and motorcycle park in the state.
Yes, and to commend Brad and his staff on the incredible trails and how they're keeping those up. Very, very nice addition, all those trails.
Yep.
Thank you.
Dan?
Guess I have more ATV, UTV related things. The Lake Camelot Friends and Family Ride is tomorrow, Saturday the 8th. It's fundraiser for Adams County Food Pantry. Registration starts at 9, ride leaves at 10. Bring your non-perishable items, and of course there'll be raffles and other things. It's always good turnout every year and good number of donations. So.
Bob?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the homeowners and lot owners who've worked on cleaning up their lots. It looks like there's a little less out there this year to pick up, so maybe we are finally reaching a point of diminishing returns. But I know it's a lot of effort for some people, but it's well worthwhile. And it's in addition to making our community more fire-wise safe, it's also more eye appealing to anybody who comes to our community.
Yeah, thank you, very good. Jamie?
So the east side, items need to be out by the end of the day this Sunday.
Right.
West side is already picked up. I know Arrowhead's still working on a couple roads within Arrowhead property owners, but yeah, if you live on the east side, have your items out by the end of the day Sunday. That's all I had.
Easy one. All right, discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 8, discussion and action, approval of the September 15th, 2022 meeting minutes.
I move to approve the September 15th meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Number 9, discussion only, update on UW-Madison Department of Forest and Wildlife Ecology Group project regarding wildlife damage management for urban and nuisance deer.
Yes, so I just wanted to keep the town board informed on this item. It's discussion only for tonight, but I included in the packet what went to our students. There'll be 5 that will be working on the project through this semester. So the piece of the group projects for forestry and wildlife ecology management 404 was included in the packet. It just goes through about what are the conflicts, how long has the problem been persistent, what's the severity, etc., and then what the students will be doing to put together their presentation, which will be on December 9th. I plan to attend their presentation in person and encourage others to go, but we'll be in contact with the students through this semester. We've just had our initial meeting and they've received a map of Rome. One of the students is very familiar with Rome. Their family has a cottage on Sherwood, which I think is helpful because they have good perspective of the area, so.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
I'd be interested too. So you're saying it's on December 9th in Madison?
On December 9th in Madison.
So, and this will be focusing on the problem on the peninsula and over,
So they're focusing in the area around the lakes. I did share with them that there has been expressed more of a concern for the east side than the west side, but that it's where our population is more dense. Where we are more rural or more spread out in nature, it hasn't been a concern. It's been where the population is more dense.
have people on the west side of 13 complained?
So I don't remember the addresses of the specific individuals that have come into here for the board meetings. I'd have to go back and look, but there has been the issues with the deer eating things on both sides of 13, yes. I
Okay.
think the issues with the deer being the numbers and the appearance of the deer has been more prevalent on the east than the west.
Okay.
Do we keep any count on any deer hits in traffic with the town?
Certainly if reports are filed for insurance purposes, it would be kept out of Spillman. One of the things that the students had asked is if we did have numbers about the cost of the damage, and they thought I had shared with them that we do have pretty good participation when we put surveys out there, and they had thought one thing to do might be to draft a survey that would ask residents about what is the cost of the damage that the deer are doing in order to have some sort of measurable piece. I did share with them that, this would be before we would explore any other culling or special hunt options. We really would want to put some things in place, not to necessarily we want to see the wildlife, just how do we not encourage the feeding or educate about the feeding or the damage, how they could avoid that damage with deer in their yards, so.
I'd be fine with seeing them once a week and not every other hour.
Or maybe go to see them.
All right. Number 10, discussion and possible action, approval of memorandum of understanding with Hometown Rome Players for Rome Rhapsody Park, a donated musical landscape and play structure for Rome Town Center Park.
There was an agreement in your packet. Nick might want to take an opportunity just to review a couple pieces. I would just share, as I did in the memo, that the Hometown Rome Players are in agreement with the memorandum and are happy to sign upon town board approval.
Thank you, Jamie. Just a couple things to draw your attention to in the agreement. Sections 2 and 4 specifically. So section 2, you'll just notice that section 2 does reference a monetary donation of $21,055. As the memo states, that's been adjusted up from what you saw last meeting because there has been additional grant funding that has been obtained by the Hometown Rome players. So that number has gone up a little bit. Just want to make sure that if you saw that and questioned why that number was different than you saw last time, you understood why that was. Second, in the larger area for this agreement would be section 4. That is the use of the funds. You'll see that the use of the funds reference 3. I would call them instruments that would be purchased and located in the at least phase 1 of the park, but it's, you know, for this donation, what would be purchased with the funds. Those items have been vetted with Hometown Rome players, and those are the items that they had selected to order. The remainder or balance of the funds that would be donated are to purchase the poured-in-place rubber plate area surfacing for that park area. And then lastly, you'll see some references to signs. I just want to make a general comment to that. So signage is anticipated for the park. It's also anticipated that we'll work jointly together to develop that signage. And then where it would be placed and what it would look like is anticipated to be in line with a larger overall signage plan for Rome Town Center Park.
Any questions? I had one on location. Why was that picked for the location as being so close proximity to the band shell? Would there be any interference there between that and the band shell when something's going on?
I don't think that there would be interference. I don't know that, like, if there was a concert, I think that piece or something that was happening at the band shell, that section was thought of because it's keeps that playground piece all together, the splash pad, the other playground equipment, and then this being on the other side. So if you had children that you were taking to that area, it isn't like it would be so far apart that you couldn't participate or use all 3 items.
Yeah, I think the band shell basically is going to project to the south, and this is on the other side of the band shell, so I don't see that there'd be that much interference.
And I think kids will really enjoy this, but I'm not sure that it would be always musical in nature.
Was it?
Well,
Probably.
I do have a question. Wasn't Visit Rome a part of the donation that gave money to these instruments as well?
Yes.
So my understanding, and Jamie, if I'm wrong, correct me, my understanding was a number of community organizations funded Hometown Rome players in their quest to raise funds for this project.
Right.
So I can kind of piggyback that with another provision that I have in here, and that is that obviously where there's grant funds or something along those lines, the idea is that we are putting in this agreement that we understand that that they're able to donate the funds for this use. In other words, it's not restricted donation using for this restricted donation. The idea with this agreement is that Hometown Rome players approached us with their request to donate funds for a specific use. They've obtained funds from a number of different organizations, as I understand it. But this agreement, so they are holding the funds, is the idea. The idea is that this is an agreement with them to purchase those specific items and pour in so you're absolutely right.
see.
There's definitely other donations from the community organizations, from the public, and a number of sources, I think.
I see. I just wanted to understand that there was proper acknowledgement for all the sources that the money was coming from for them to, I see.
And
Thank
that could be recognized on the signage that's placed out there.
Absolutely.
All right, thank
We'd
you.
like to do a cooperative signage with all the donors, and maybe it would have something where it would be a tree or musical notes or something where it would refer back to a larger sign and have pieces around the park. Some sort of larger sign plan.
Yep. And
Similar to what you did for the band shell.
And
Perfect.
you'll see in section 4E, the idea that it will be in that donor signage area, and So there will be likely some acknowledgement, we'd be working together with them, and we can make sure that stuff like that is reflected
Perfect.
in the donor signage for the larger park area.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the MOU with Hometown Rome Players.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 11, discussion and possible action, approval of recommendation from the Alcohol Beverage License Review Committee on application for a Class A combination liquor license for the period of October 7th, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Rome Country Meats and Deli LLC, 264 Geneva Trail, Nacusa, Wisconsin, 54457.
The Alcohol Beverage and License Committee met earlier this month, and they did make a recommendation of approval of this Class A license. Again, Class A means selling away. They would be offering products and packages and selling them for consumption off-site. So they would recommend approval of this. There are no quotas to Class A licenses.
Motion to approve the Class A combination liquor license for Rome Country Meats and Deli.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 12, discussion and possible action amendment to the agreement for municipal judge services.
So included in the packet was a memo from Judge Thibodeau in addition to the existing agreement. So our municipal court judge is an elected office. However, we did not have a qualified candidate on the last ballot, and so Judge Thibodeau, who had been appointed to fill an unexpired term, was again appointed to fill this term. His term doesn't come, it's a 4-year term, so it doesn't return until 2024. And he had just shared that he had would request a mid-term increase, going from $3,600 a year to $4,800 a year. That's paid out in a one-time payment in December to the municipal judge. It certainly is something that the town board can consider midterm. I know Nick has done some research on that. If you wanted some additional information, I did include in the general budget that you saw the $4,800. So in case it was approved, that we were prepared for that in the budget. So you will see general back again on the 19th, but the budget that you did see for general did include this $4,800.
And I do have just a couple additional points to make as you consider this request. I think Jamie mentioned it well. Recall that our current judge is an appointed judge, appointed to fill the remainder of the unexpired term. So we do have an elected judge position, but we did not get a qualified candidate that was elected, and so that created a vacancy. We appointed a judge. When you appoint a judge, you have to have a municipal judge services agreement that sets forth certain things like compensation. I say all this because part of this request, okay, and direction that you would give would be if you're approving adjusting this compensation, and if you approve to adjust this compensation, you would be then directing me to draft an amendment that you would consider at a later meeting, or you could just authorize the chairperson to execute the amendment at this meeting. The other piece of this is, recall, since you have an elected position, that in our ordinance and by statute, you set the salary as well for an elected judge. So although this request is for compensation of our current appointed judge, you also may want to consider whether or not you are also approving a salary adjustment going forward for the elected position. Does that make sense? So the request is for the appointed, and if you give me direction to draft that or make it a motion and authorize the chairperson to execute that agreement, you'd be doing that for the appointed. But then consider whether or not you want to also carry that forward with the salary for the elected municipal judge going forward.
Question, is it common for situations like this to pay the salary at the beginning of the year, for the whole year?
No, we pay it in December, so we pay it at the end of the year.
Okay, but you're giving them a whole year's salary at that time.
At the
This-
end.
He would get 36 this year, he'd get 48 next year.
Paid out.
He gets it in one payment in December.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Is it common to pay for the whole year at one time?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's common. One thing that it does allow for is, by statute, and I believe it's also perhaps in our ordinance, but certainly it's in statute, so it would be controlling. We don't compensate our judge during times that they can't serve as judge. And so it allows us to adjust that if, if there was a period of time over the year that he did not serve, we'd probably adjust that in a prorated fashion. I mean, it has been that way, at least since I've been here, to pay in a lump sum. I believe the municipal judge has been paid in a lump sum since I've been here. If that was a decision that the board made to pay monthly or quarterly or something else besides annually, I think they could do that for this particular judge. However, since it's the appointed position, I believe we have that it's paid at one time, I thought. So, so what we do is we require a written request from the judge. That request has a couple different things in it. The request has that there's nothing pending, or if there is something pending, that we know about those before we pay. We could, by this agreement, as I read it, adjust it perhaps to something different than annually. But what they would have to do is make that request each time. I don't know that we're being asked to adjust the annual.
Well, I'm just curious because, and it may have been this way when I was on the board as well.
It was.
Okay, so I trust what you were saying that it was. That being said, just because that's the way we always did it, doesn't mean there's not a better way. But I guess, well, to get, so I'm understanding and you're understanding, the person is paid upfront for the, no.
At the end of the year.
At the end of they're paid, so for the service year of 2023, they get paid at the end of the year for that year.
In December.
And
Okay, and they don't have a problem with that.
we've never heard of a problem for that. The other point there, again, is that since it's paid at the end, it allows us, if we had to adjust it for time that they weren't qualified to serve as judge, if there was some reason that they weren't. It also allows us to get a statement from them, which we've always required and will continue to do so, that, we understand what actions are still pending that are unresolved. Most of the time, they're resolved. We get them resolved at the municipal court scheduled date in that month, and then it's resolved by year end.
Okay, so there is provisions in writing that if there's a period where they can't serve, that it gets, okay.
Not only in writing, it's actually in statute, in 755.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay. I move that we increase Judge Thibodeau's salary effective January 1st, 2023 to $4,800, and that we amend the agreement for municipal judge services, paragraph 4, to reflect that.
And allow the chairman to sign once that amendment is
Yes.
completed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Before we leave that one,
Good.
do you wish to have on a future agenda or at some later point a consideration for the elected position? You'll want to do that before the next term, because if you start the next term, you can't increase that until the start of the second year of a term. So what you've done here is adjusted it for our appointed judge. But just remember that without some kind of action, you haven't adjusted that for the elected position.
Is there another agreement for municipal judge services for elected positions? So
So
where
the
would that
only
be?
reason we have an agreement is because we have that appointed judge. We have to have an agreement when we have an
Okay,
appointed judge.
where does it talk about elected judges, though?
Yep, so elected judges are by statute and in our ordinance. The ordinance says that you all set the salary. There are requirements by statute that limit your ability to adjust that midterm. Certainly down, you can't. Up even, you cannot during that first year. You could do it right now for the next term or going forward. I'm just saying that what you've done right now has been adjusted it for your appointed judge, but you have not adjusted it. So after this term would end and we would go into another term for elected, currently, you have the current amount set at the $3,600.
So the
Where
way
does it
this-
state that, though?
Well, the way this agenda item's written, it's kind of open. We probably could do the one right now, right?
Yeah,
Instead of another agenda item?
That'd be
But
fine.
you might-
I would change my motion to reflect that. I don't know
Well, we
where.
I
already
wouldn't change the
voted.
motion.
It-
It's already,
another
that's already
motion.
been approved,
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
You also can consider it at the start of the term, right? Like you can consider salaries for the supervisor's positions before the start of the term. So, in next annual meeting in 2023, that could be a separate agenda item to set the salary for the term prior to the term beginning in April.
fine.
Yeah, that's another option.
Lori?
What you might wanna consider, Mark Thibodeau is a known citizen, and he's been our judge for quite some time, and took this role on and was appointed because nobody took out papers to run for judge. Next time around, you don't know who you might get, so you might wanna consider this wage. That's something we might wanna think about as a board, correct?
Well, at the same time, he did his homework and showed us what everybody around us is paying, so.
I understand that.
But normally, when would we set the salary for, so this election, the judge will come up for election when?
2024.
2024.
It's a
So then,
nonpartisan race, so it's
so
in
then
the
in
spring.
so the fall of '23
Yes.
is when we would then normally look at the supervisor salaries that are up for reelection in 2024 and the judge salary.
'Cause you have to set the salary before people take papers because they need to be
Right.
notified of the
So
wage.
at the October meeting in a year from now, November meeting a year from now, or October meeting,
Correct.
we would then be looking at the supervisor salaries and the judge
Judge's
salary at that time.
salary.
You certainly could, and the only other distinguishing factor with municipal judges is, like I said, you can actually adjust it midterm with an elected judge, just can't do it in that first year. And you cannot decrease.
Right, and they serve for 4 years.
It's for you.
So I only mention it, not saying that you need to, do anything to me. Rather that, just so we're clear that what you've done is with your appointed
Fine.
judge right now. And in the future, at some point, you'll likely have a conversation about the elected position in light of this and make a determination, one way or the other, for your elected judge's salary.
I'd rather just do it when we do all the elected officials for that cycle.
That cycle,
Might be a different number by then, too.
exactly.
Hold off on it?
Yeah.
If we hold off, I guess Jamie, make sure you got notes on that, because I could see it getting glossed over, and, because we see it in the budget, right, at 4,800, but then somebody gets elected and
And we
oops.
have
We'll all
missed
help each
cycles
other.
already for supervisors, so.
Maybe we'll be able to appoint them again.
I had one other question. Is it only 11 of the 35 judges are attorneys?
You don't have to, we require through our
Ordinance.
ordinance that our
Ordinance.
judge is an attorney, but not all municipalities do for municipal
Well,
court.
could some of these lower salaries be attributed to folks that aren't attorneys? I mean, you're looking at it that way,
Correct.
you gotta look at the
You are
qualifications.
doing the correct analysis there, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
correct.
Likely is.
So 48 might not even be the right number for a qualified attorney with the status we have here. So I think we do need to look at it later, a little more
Which
thoroughly.
Judge Thibodeau is an attorney, I mean, he was our DA. I don't know that he still has,
It depends, I know this next year, he may qualify for emeritus status, so he'd have to, we've had that conversation, the judge and I, as far as that's concerned, so he may actually be qualified.
but
Uh,
right
under
now,
our ordinance.
what's the term? He's not,
Well, he's not licensed to practice law. in the
he's
state.
not licensed, there you go, I guess,
Correct.
yeah. He was a practicing attorney, but he's not licensed at the
He was the county DA for a long time.
We're fortunate to have him.
All right. Number 13, discussion of possible action establishing the date and time for the annual budget hearing and special town meeting as Thursday, November 17th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Any thoughts on that?
We just have to, every year we have to actually set the date through town board, and then that, triggers us doing the, legal notice.
Okay.
Cause that needs a class 2 notice in the paper, both the agenda and our preliminary budget.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 14, discussion only, Town Web Design LLC Web Design Agreement.
I just wanted to include this in the packet. I also included a brief memo. So we've been with Town Web Design for many years. They are making some upgrades to our site, which will be great. It will make it ADA compatible and mobile friendly, which it is not now. So those are wonderful additions. But that means that we'll have to go through a redesign. Town Web is a little bit different than other web providers in that they have a template development. That's how they help to keep costs low. But with that switch, they will have a small increase to their annual fee from $600 to $620, and we will have this one-time fee of $799 for that upgrading. So it's not an action item. I just wanted to let supervisors know that it would be occurring. Again, what is really nice about Town Web is that they're the only service that offers white glove, where we can send them anything and they will do the work to post it, and that's not of an extra charge, which is really nice. So
When do you anticipate that going into effect?
sometime around the first of the year would be when the upgrades would go into effect.
Did you mention that this upgrade is gonna allow us to take advantage potentially of their payment services?
So yes, it would be of an extra charge, but they do a partnership with what's called HeyGov. Our one piece that we need to figure out is if you partner with HeyGov, you have to partner with Stripe, and we don't partner with Stripe, we partner with PayGov. So that's the way our credit cards are processed. So we need to work out with HeyGov if they would integrate with PayGov, for us not to have to change credit card systems. But then we could integrate payments with completed forms and have them submitted online, which would be nice. But it will be of an extra charge to this if we go that route.
Thinking maybe there's an opportunity too with the water utility, and then we could do some cost sharing or something, cause right now, it's pretty screwy. I just get a random email that says, oh, hey, we charged your card. Okay. Like, I don't see a bill.
It's just that and not the amount, just that you're charged.
Oh, yeah, it says the amount, but like, I don't get a bill.
I get a bill and they don't charge my credit card, they draft it out of my checking account.
Mine's just the credit card charge.
I didn't
and
think they had
You
a
don't get a-
credit.
I get like a receipt.
Mailer goes out.
So, okay, well, if it's just me, then maybe it's a problem with just me.
You unwittingly signed up for electronic notices only.
Yeah.
Again, no action required. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware.
Yeah.
Well, whenever this company got selected, I mean, obviously due diligence was done back then, but it's extremely reasonable for what they're proposing and charging and for the services that it sounds like you get. So
do.
whatever prior board did this,
You're
kudos to
welcome.
them.
They do a great job of support. Every time you call them, ask them to do something, it's done right away. And it's free.
Yeah, Bob brought him on to Tri-Lakes for us, and wow, what a difference.
I think they've come a long way too since when we
They
first
have. They
engaged
really
with them. And, yeah.
All right, then, number 15, discussion and possible action. Request from the Romemakers for a $100 donation to the Children's Halloween Party to be held at the Rome Town Center on October 29th, 2022.
So I just want to mention, because this is an example, certainly supportive of this event. The town will be there, the fire department will be there, the police department will be there. It's a great event. Being in the Rome Town Center, we did already waive usage of Rome Town Center, right? So if we waive usage of Rome Town Center, then we don't we aren't realizing any income for the rental, for the maintenance of those buildings. And then if we do the $100 donation, we'll take that out of the can fund, that's what it's there for. But this is just, I just wanna point out, cause we've been having this conversation, and this is a good real life example, where maybe in the future we would say, if we're gonna waive Rome Town Center, then we don't additionally do the $100 donation, or we don't waive Rome Town Center, but we make it a difference with the donation. Especially with the band shell, if you're gonna utilize the gazebo and take up so much space that the band shell's not rentable, then you're not making any income off of that piece, and a piece of the budget is to make some income off the band shell,
Can
to
I just
help offset that cost.
ask a question before somebody makes a motion? Is this in conjunction with what Visit Rome is doing then?
Yes.
So their donations are also coming into play?
Yes. Yes, to put on the whole event, yep. Yep, and it's a great event. It's
Right,
like,
right.
we certainly supportive, but
So
it's
there's
just,
other money coming in here.
yeah, but I also just wanna play that scenario through.
But to the administrator's comments there, you know, I think when we look at these, we have to look at the purpose of the event for which, you know, we waive those fees for the events that are directly benefiting the residents of our town.
Right.
Who already pay in effect through their property taxes for the Rome Town Center. So I think, and we know that there will probably be a large number of children there, and they will, you know, and we have that can fund for this purpose. I move we approve the $100 donation for the event.
And I second it.
Any further discussion? And I'm in agreement too. I mean, this is for the Rome.
It's for the people of Rome.
Yeah, you're right. So,
For the kids.
yep. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Number 16, discussion and possible referral to Plan Commission, Town Code Chapter 360, Article 16B1, Business District Commercial Zoning, and Article 31, Gateway Overlay District Requirements, and dialogue regarding potential recommendations for amendments.
So I just included a brief memo and then the two pieces out of zoning code in the packet. Chairman had asked that we had just put this on the agenda and talk about sort of the process and what's required in the zoning code. And if we thought that there was potential to put forth maybe amendments to the plan commission that would strengthen our language within these two, how we were feeling about these two in particular, and if there might be potential amendments that the board had thought about or were considering. Certainly, we can start the dialogue tonight, but if it's something where we want to continue it at the next meeting, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I brought it up. I just, going back to our last board meeting when that fellow came in and apparently wasn't clear on the Gateway District, and I just had a feeling that somebody didn't do their due diligence, and I don't think it was us. I think we're fine. But I just want to make sure that it's clear, and then going forward, it's black and white. It's not questionable. We shouldn't be making changes to ordinances or codes just on a whim. They're there to be followed. Just want to make sure it's all plain and clear. That was just my thoughts on it. And again, the Plan Commission, I don't want to throw anything more at them at the moment. They got a lot going, but as time goes on, I think we need to look at different sections of the code and the ordinances and make sure that they're clear and they're for the original intent. I understood his reasoning for not wanting to pave all the way back there, but was that the intent, the original intent of the ordinance to, was it for visual, or did he have a solid point? Not that we'd change it, but change his, for a variance or something like that, but going forward, is that exactly what we want? So I think going into the gateway and also into the whole plan commission thing with the comprehensive plan, make sure it's clear, make sure it's what we want, and there's just no questions down the road.
Well,
Black and white.
and I think there also needs to be effort to look at the context of the requirements that the Gateway District sets forth, right, mirror those of the town center. Okay, great, we all know we can look at the town center and look at the zoning regulations related to that, but now try and envision how that actually applies to the Gateway District. Does it really make sense, or does it not? Do we need to tweak some things?
Sure.
Because
I think it's gonna take some thought,
Yeah.
and not looking for answers tonight. I just wanna open it up for conversation, future.
And I think when we originally conceived of the Gateway District and how that does expand, into the, how people come into the town and how they look, and if we start changing those things at the town board, I think it's important that we do put that back to refer it back to the plan commission especially for those commercial uses, look further into the permitted and conditional uses and don't adjust it just yet, we need to have that direction and focus, and I think it's important that we, look at that, because when we start changing them here for that one person that comes to us that questions the merit of our code, then what are the other people that have already abided by that code supposed to think? And I think we put those things into place for a reason, so, that's where I get concerned. So I think it's important that we do put that back to the plan commission and look into them further there, and we do that, so.
It might be, again, one of the things with the plan and the CDA where they're doing their combined, because they're working on a lot of that right now, so.
And I think, I don't know about putting it back to that committee, with the, with what they're doing with that joint subcommittee, they've got a lot on their plate, and with the, comprehensive plan, if there's maybe another subcommittee that can take a look with the Gateway District, I don't know, but maybe we'll have that conversation, if we could, at the plan commission and see where that direction goes, cause Therese, there was a great deal of thought when we did come up with the Gateway District and how we wanted that to look. And I'm not saying that, Dan doesn't have, maybe some valid concerns, but let's have that conversation, and let's not throw it all away just yet. There was some very serious considerations at the time.
I'm just saying, let's make sure we've got practical requirements there, because quite honestly, if I was looking to build a business in town Rome right now, I don't know that I would, especially not in the Gateway District.
Well, but
There's
then-
incremental cost to all of those requirements.
And you're absolutely correct, but then again, like I said last time, we're eroding our commercial district with large buildings that are turning into storage facilities, so that's what we need to reconsider. So please, let's do that at Plan Commission, and maybe Nick has some valid points we could.
Yeah, well, I have just maybe a couple general thoughts and things that I'm hearing from Supervisor Goman as far as areas that might be looked at closer. So the first thing I would just note is that we have two things here. We have a zoning district and we have an overlay district. So when just for everybody watching and anybody that's not familiar, when we're talking about gateway overlay, we're talking about an overlay district. An overlay district is going to have your base district and an overlay district with some additional standards. To Supervisor Goman's point, the gateway overlay district does have those standards. It largely incorporates the standards from Rome Town Center Commercial A. I say largely because to Supervisor Goman's kind of point is that as we have kind of worked through the gateway overlay district, we have reconsidered and amended the standards to add in things like outside storage if it's approved on a site plan. We've done that after the gateway overlay district was put into place. So what I'm hearing from Supervisor Goman is maybe as this goes back to Plan Commission and maybe turns into a referral to a new committee, somewhat like Rome Town Center Subcommittee did with Rome Town Center, that maybe they look at the standards and maybe the standards that are pulled or completely referencing the commercial A, you don't have to do that. That's an option, or you can actually flesh out what standards we have for that overlay district and really work through what all those standards mean in commercial A for our commercial properties under the overlay district. So that's what I'm hearing is that really that process can be gone through and really kind of worked through to see if it's practical for businesses that are looking to be in, and we can still do that and potentially modify it while still upholding, I think, the purpose and intent of the overlay district, which to Chairman's comment, purpose is really important with both a district, so your zoning district like commercial or business district, and your overlay district. We have a good purpose statement. It doesn't mean that we can't adjust it if we need to or add to it. After Act 67, I would say that our purpose statement for the business district, there may be some improvements that could be done there. We have a very brief purpose statement, but we're Act 67 made some adjustments to conditional use permits. One thing that comes with that is this idea that conditions need to have certain standards to them as as the Plan Commission may require them. A good source of inspiration and legitimacy to those conditions can come from the purpose statement that is listed in the district. So I would say that there's also an opportunity for the Plan Commission or a subcommittee, whatever that would look like, to also look at the purpose that you see in B1 and see if we want to flesh that out. And a good example of what that looks like fleshing that out is what you'll see in Rome Town Center. As we did that adjustment with the subcommittee, we did put general characteristics for, really a purpose statement for each of those sub-districts. And we also did a purpose statement for the district as a whole. So I think there's a few opportunities we have. All have been, I think, touched on by each of you as you've provided some comments. And I think there's a real opportunity here to take a look at both that district and the overlay district, and maybe some of the standards in that overlay district, and see if those still are applicable today.
Any additional thoughts?
None other than it'd be nice if Plan Commission had time to do that.
Yeah, they're busy, no doubt. So we will refer it to the Plan Commission, but as time goes on, maybe when things slow down a little bit. Any other comments on that? All right, dates and items for future agenda meetings, number 17?
Carl.
Yes,
I
yes,
have a
oh,
question.
yes, Phil.
Thank you. Just one comment. I think I heard the word variance earlier on in this discussion. No?
I did mention, I think I mentioned the variant,
I don't think you meant the legal
Well-
definition.
Well,
where we're changing things.
right, the only comment I was gonna make is that, as far as uses, you need to really define them in permitted and conditional, as opposed to granting a use variance. I don't know if Nick is agreeable to that idea.
Absolutely, I'm
that you-
agreeable to it. There's a strict test by statute that would need to be met, and
But
pretty tough to
for-
meet.
Yeah, it's not a good path to take.
All right, now next agenda items.
Next agenda, we will have, I think, 4 items from Plan Commission that need to come, so we'll have several Plan Commission items.
Any other agendas? Next meeting date and time?
It is Thursday, October 20th at 5 o'clock. Oh, October 20th at 3 o'clock, budget meeting, 5 o'clock, town board. Because we changed that at the last.
Yeah. Let's get a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Meeting
Any
adjourned
opposed?
at 5:47.